start our technical session 2, which will be held till 5:30 p.m. And technical session will be followed by interactive session as well as valedictory session. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type or write them into the question box or chat box. We will take them during the presentation, and all the questions or the queries will be answered during the interactive session, which is scheduled after this session. The chairperson of Technical Session 2 and Interactive Session is my respected professor, Dr. Gautam Bhumik, who is Associate Professor at Department of Commerce, University of Gorbongo, and former HOD at same. He obtained his PhD degree from University of Calcutta. He contributed a number of articles in academic as well as professional journals and presented papers in national and international seminar. He's an excellent person. We welcome you, sir. In our technical session 2, we have two eminent speakers with us. Let me introduce them to you all. Our first speaker is Dr. Subhashis Dey, and his topic is Decoding Comprehensive Lockdown and a Proposal of Strategic Lockdown. Dr. Dey is a senior faculty member of Economics Department of University of Warwick and also a senior research fellow at Global Development Institute, University of Manchester. He is a development economist working on India, China, and Sub-Saharan African region. He completed his MSc in economics from University of Calcutta, and then he did his MA in development studies from Erasmus University, Rotterdam from Netherlands. He did his PhD in economics from University Manchester, UK. He taught at New College in Humanities, London, University of New York, and is currently teaching at University of Warwick. Apart from his academic exposure, Dr. Dey has an experience of working with Government of West Bengal, Government of Bihar, and also with African Commission on Poverty with UN. He published in EPW, an international journal, and written Bengali op-ed articles in Anando Bazar. He also shares his view through his own Bengali blog, B. Nirman. We welcome you, sir. Our technical speaker.
Good afternoon from England, because it's not yet 12 noon. So we are in the AM slot of the day. So good afternoon from Warwickshire, UK, and good morning rather, and good afternoon from India. So, first I would like to thank Manas Vaidya, principal of Malda College, who is my good friend for a long period of time. It's been around 20 years we are friends. So thank you for inviting me and giving the scope to share my thoughts, which I've been doing last few weeks or rather month. So this is a part of a ongoing collaborative research that I am doing with one of my colleague in Manchester, Upashok Das, who recently joined in Manchester. So in that collaborative project, we have a few papers coming out, and I would like to share some of the major findings in non-technical manner as far as possible. Okay, so my focus is primarily on India, but I will touch upon some of the statistics and findings which may find it interesting when we will present in comparison with the rest of the world, right? So as my title goes, is Decoding Comprehensive Lockdown and a Proposal for Strategic Lockdown. I am audible to all of you?
Yes, yes,
all of you?
100%, okay. Clear and crystal.
Thank you. So as title suggests, that I would touch upon two major dimensions. One is what does comprehensive lockdown stands for, or what it has delivered. And of course, I would like to touch upon an alternative way of conceiving this lockdown idea. So precisely what I intend to deliver is addressing these four questions. Number one, does lockdown have any effect on spread of COVID-19? So based on a exploratory analysis, based on a cross-country evidence, I just like to portray whether a lockdown has delivered anything, at least in terms of containing the spread of COVID-19. And when I say the spread of COVID-19, primarily I am talking about the number of positive cases and of course the case fatality rate, which I will define in a minute. The second point or second question that I will try to touch upon is how India is compared with the rest of the world in respect of stringency of lockdown. So by stringency of lockdown, we mean how strict was the lockdown. Like lockdown is now a pan-India, not only pan-India, is all across the world. Lockdown is a common word even in a dinner table. So when we are saying that, I mean, over last 10 weeks, whenever we talk with our friends in India, in Germany, in Sweden, in US, they all are saying that, how are you coping with the lockdown? So in a word, it sounds same, lockdown, but in nature, it differs across the countries. And when I say it differs across the countries, it means in terms of strictness. How strict is the lockdown? That is called the stringency of lockdown. And I just want to give you an idea how stringent Indian lockdown was in comparison to the rest of the world. And after describing the comparison of stringency of lockdown, if we find that there is indeed a difference between the stringency measures of lockdown between India and rest of the world, then we should get a heterogeneous impact in terms of spread of COVID when we compare between India and rest of the world. So that would be touched upon in question number 3, what has Indian lockdown delivered, right? And eventually, I will come up with a proposal for strategic lockdown as against this total lockdown. So I will say during my presentation, what do I mean by strategic lockdown, right? Okay. So, I mean, my slides will be full of numbers, graphs, and etc. But I will try my best to explain what do I mean by these pictures. So this slide is trying to address the question that does lockdown has any effect on spread of COVID-19? So it is as simple as this saying that, let's say a country X started its lockdown measure in the 3rd week of March 2020, and it continued to follow the measures of lockdown, let's say following 10 weeks. So what was the primary objective of the lockdown across the world? To contain, to suppress the spread of COVID-19, right? So it should be noted, it should be reminded that the objective of lockdown never been to mitigate or to combat COVID-19, never. The objective of lockdown in all the countries were to suppress the spread of COVID-19 so that each country can buy some time, each country can get some time to equip their public health management in terms of building hospitals, in terms of building care facilities, in terms of investing more intensive time on research on COVID things. So basically, we are saying to the administrative people that, hey, please install a lockdown so that the spread of COVID-19 will not manifest further, and meantime 30, 40, 60 days we'll come up with a better management, we'll come up with some better strategy, and if you lift the lockdown, then we can tackle that spread eventually. So if that is the global objective, and also this was the objective as said by the WHO, that the primary objective of the lockdown was to contain the disease, to suppress the spread of COVID-19. You probably have seen in the news that we always try to say that each government tried to suppress the peak of the curve, right? So if that is the objective, then what one could expect? One could expect that if lockdown is happening as per its expectation, then as you progress from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4 and so on with the lockdown, then you should be able to suppress the number of spread. So if you plot the number of COVID cases in the horizontal axis, as you can see in this graph, as you can see in the graph, in the horizontal axis, we are plotting number of COVID-19 cases, right? It starts from 0, 1, 10, 100, and 1,000, and so on. So as you move from left to right, that means number of cases is increasing over time. On the vertical axis, we are plotting some proxy measure of lockdown stringency. Some proxy measure of lockdown stringency. Meaning, if you move from bottom to up, that means your stringency index value is increasing. So this value can spread between 0 to 100, 0 being no lockdown, and 100 being the most strictest or most stringent form of lockdown. There was a study conducted by the University of Oxford. They conducted a study over 73 countries based on 19 indicators that how strict was the lockdown. In their measure, for a span of 10 weeks, they found the Indian lockdown was the most strict lockdown in the world. So in that sense, the value of the proxy measure of stringency index of lockdown for India was 97.5, as against for Sweden it was 45, from Germany it was 65. So you can imagine that what the Indian government could do is making the lockdown stringent, but that does not mean lockdown is effective, but that means the lockdown was stringent, right? It couldn't give any room to adjust its workforce. It couldn't give any kind of alternative livelihood option. It did not give any kind of other easing facility. All on a sudden, they came and they announced, right? So in that sense, that was a most strictest lockdown. Now, based on that 73 countries relation, rather we call a regression relation, we find that there is no significant impact of lockdown on number of positive COVID cases. So how one could reach to this conclusion? We find that with the same stringency index value, that means if we can chalk out some of the countries which had same value of stringency index, but they had wide variety of positive number of cases. So let's say the number of stringency index 97.5 for India, 91.4 for Italy, and 40. I mean, let's say there was a club of countries which had more than 90 as the value of stringency index, as compared to there was a club of countries whose stringency value was around 50. So if the objective was fulfilled, then we could expect the countries whose stringency index value was around 50, that means less lockdown intensity, those countries should have a positive number of higher number of cases, compared to the countries which are having a higher number of stringency index value, they should experience a lower number of positive cases. Or in ideal way, if you plot a graph and a best fit line, then you should expect a downward sloping curve. If you plot the value of stringency index in the vertical axis and number of positive cases in the horizontal axis, the theory and expectation and WHO objectives suggest that after 10 weeks of lockdown, if one is trying to establish a relation between the stringency index of lockdown and number of COVID cases, then that should have a negative relation, or that should be represented in terms of a downward sloping curve. But the results is we got almost a straight line parallel to the horizontal axis. It means that even with the same stringency index value, there was a wide variety of countries which have different number of positive cases. So that means if one country could manage COVID, that is not due to lockdown. That is something due to specific to that country, right? So because you compare between two countries with the same lockdown intensity, but you end up with getting two different values of positive cases. On the contrary, you can have same number of positive cases between two countries, but they may have a wide variety of stringency index value. So that means stringency or how strict a lockdown has nothing to do with whether you contain the spread of COVID-19. So that becomes a really surprising result when you look at, and 73 countries for a 10 weeks period, which was a quite large data, and it created a great noise in the policy field, especially it hit hard to the WHO that lockdown hasn't delivered, at least even suppressing the disease. So then there has been lots of paper coming out that then which the country which actually managed to contain the disease, actually managed to suppress the number, they exercise something else. And that had started the research scholar to invest further, that what could be that factor which is playing at the country level, which is not lockdown, but that could have a positive impact of in containing, in terms of reducing or in terms of not increasing the number of positive cases. So what I just said in 5 minutes, that can be summarized in one sentence, is the following: across the world, there is no clear effect that lockdown has delivered in terms of containing the increase in the positive number. And if that is the case, then the people who are advocating for the lockdown to suppress the positive number, they are very much challenged. Primarily, the people who had advocated for comprehensive lockdown, those who are the public health professionals, right? Now, the public health professionals are saying, okay, you introduce a stringent lockdown, but how can you ensure that that stringent lockdown is effective? Okay, then you come that means imposing a lockdown doesn't mean anything. And exactly that had happened in India, because it brings lots of negative dimension, lots of austerity measure, lots of macroeconomic chaos, and also it defeated its own purpose. I will come to that later. The second graph, which I am trying to present, it shows 3 lines. The blue line is called the case fatality rate, or CFR. Case fatality rate, or CFR. And this ash color or blackish color line is the rate of test, and then yellowish color is the total number of positive cases. The point which I am trying to say, that Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, had defended the logic of lockdown by saying that India is in verge of increasing case fatality rate. So what is the case fatality rate? The case fatality rate is a simple ratio of two numbers. One, in the numerator you put the total number of deaths due to COVID, and in the denominator you put the total number of positive cases due to COVID. So out of positive cases, what percentage are actually dying? So you can simply imagine that this measure essentially depends on the denominator, where in the denominator you put the number of positive cases, and this number of positive cases is an increasing function of your test capacity. So if a country don't do enough number of tests, then for those countries the number of positive cases will be low and the value of the denominator will be low. So therefore, if you are considering x over y and y is small number, then x over y will be always a right. So case fatality rate was used to defend lockdown, and we can see across the lockdown period, lockdown 1, 2, 3, this case fatality rate remained almost constant, 3.35. I have done extensive research on almost using 90 days data. The ICMR, which was the main wing of Indian policy making, they deliberately tried to keep the case fatality rate around 3.35 to defend that the case fatality rate is quite high and hence we need to have a lockdown. Now, just to give you a perspective that whether 3.35 is a high or not, it is indeed high, because the seasonal flu or influenza that has a case fatality rate is around 0.15. 0.15. So that means if 100 people get affected by influenza, then 0.15 number of people will die eventually. But for the COVID, as per the ICMR data, it says that if 100 people gets affected, then around 3.35 number of people will die. In numbers it looks small, but if let's say the spread is between lakhs and crores, then this number will be a horrible number. So that had caused the policymaker to continue with the lockdown. But what we could not achieve to reduce this 3.35 by increasing the test speed. I will show you a slide in few minutes time, then you can get a sense that what India has done terribly wrong in terms of the test speed. Because if you remember that right from the beginning, WHO was saying that the only weapon to tackle this was test, and I will try to explain that why this is so. So from this slide, point to take, across the world, there is no clear evidence that lockdown has delivered in terms of suppressing the positive number. When we look at the Indian context, we did find that there was a consistently high level of CFR, and that has pushed the lockdown logic further and further and further. But on the contrary, the critical note one should take, this 3.35 is something not constant. That could have been reduced with a high number of tests that could increase the positive number of cases, and that could reduce the denominator, and that could reduce the CFR. And once the CFR has reduced substantially, then one could advocate for easing out lockdown. As there was no sufficient test, therefore there was a very less number of positive detection, therefore high number of denominator. That means there could have been a high number of denominator, and we could have get a CFR low, and that could push the logic of lockdown easing out. That didn't happen, right? So next slide is showing is how India is compared with the rest of the world in respect of stringency of lockdown. So I'm just checking, am I audible still with all of you?
Yes, 100%. Okay, carry on.
Okay, so this is the graph which is saying basically, if you take your cursor, so the top, so as I said, in the vertical axis we are plotting the value of stringency, 100 being the most strict and most stringent, and 0 being the no. So you can see the purple line represents the India, which means for a period from March 22, that's the Janta Curfew date, until the mid of May, during this period of time, India was exercising the world's most strict lockdown, which is almost matching with the 100-mark scale. Now, let me show you again what has Indian lockdown delivered. I already mentioned that the case fatality rate remained fairly constant, and case doubling rate, which is basically how many days the number of positive cases is actually increasing mean better. So when the number of positive cases gets doubled in 2 days versus number of positive cases gets doubled in 15 days, that means you are improving that. So in that respect, the number of positive cases gets doubled is increasing, which is a good, right? So CFR remain constant, and number of cases doubling over time. So the number of cases doubling over time, that is increasing. It's a good sign, but it is not good enough to ease out lockdown. That was the advocacy of the people who were sitting in the policy level. Now, this is an interesting table. I would like to spend a bit more time, that how India is compared with other countries. Can we really defend the logic of comprehensive lockdown for India? So you can see the CFR. This is the statistics derived on 1st June. I mentioned some of the countries in the left column, and then CFR, that is the case fatality rate. You can see that the case fatality rate, that means the number of deaths divided by number of positive cases on the 1st June, based on last 3 months data, it was quite high for United Kingdom, Italy, France, and so on, right? But the case fatality rate for India was 3.2. Now we means particularly me and Upashak, there is no other studies which raised this concern that this case fatality rate, which is a conventional way of looking at how severe is the COVID-19, is a faulty measure. That is a statement given by us only. Why? If you are simple, recall your 10th standard arithmetic, then as I said that the CFR is a ratio, number of deaths divided by number of positive cases. Now, if one country realize a fall in CFR, that is conventionally considered as a good way of tackling COVID. But just simply ask that the CFR can fall if the denominator increases. That means if the number of positive cases increases. So when a country is presenting their results with a low CFR, that means you are encouraging a country which are experiencing an increasing number of positive cases. So that should not be any kind of a policy incentive design. So you are saying a country is experiencing a falling CFR, due to increasing value of the denominator, which is the number of positive cases. That means you are encouraging, or you are incentivizing, you are praising a country who is experiencing an increasing positive number of COVID cases. But ideally, you also want to contain the number of positive cases along with the death rate. So we devised a new measure called the DRR, or the death to recovery rate. What is DRR? Death to recovery rate means we simply use number of death divided by number of recovery from positive cases. Now, if you look at both the number x divided by y, where x was death and y is number of recovery. So now if you ask, a country is experiencing a fall in death to recovery, that can happen if x fall, that means number of death fall, or in the denominator you are having number of recovery, that means if recovery is increases. So now you are devising a yardstick to measure the performance of COVID containment in terms of DRR, which is x over y, where x is the number of death and y is the number of recovery. Then you can say that if y increases, then x over y fall. And what is the meaning of y increase? Y increase means in DRR recovery is increasing, which is good. So now in the DRR calculation, you are not only encouraging or praising country who are reducing their number of death, but also you are praising the countries who are able to release the increasing number of recovery. In terms of that category, once we calculate it, even we find that India is doing quite good, which is, I mean, after Russia is a 6%. So the point is that, so in terms of the DRR or in terms of CFR, Indian experience is not that worst as compared to the rest of the world. But the point is that we are doing the test per million population is 2,527 as compared to just look at the staggering figure in the rest of the countries. So if we could have achieved the number of tests per million at that extent, we would have get a much smaller DRR there, right? DRR there. Now you can see in the bottom line, sorry, 30th April, May 5, May 12, May 20, May 29, how the values of this DRR changes across the country. You can see that steadily India is realizing a fall in the DRR, which is desirable. But in case of a US, it's still hovering around 20. For except Russia, the number is quite high for the rest of the world. But the rest of the world, they didn't exercise that much of stringency of lockdown. Now look at this figure. So I have said so many things, don't need to remember that. Just to remember, my objective in this presentation or in this research to defend my argument that lockdown could have worked much better if we had a large number of tests. With an increasing number of tests, a comprehensive lockdown can really work. But what had happened in Indian context, our political leaders, they were more motivated to monitor the lockdown, not use the lockdown time to build the public infrastructures in the health or the testing capacity. This is a staggering figure. So I don't know whether you can see that. I will try to enlarge a bit, and then I will show you that you can see that this is the 25th of March when the lockdown had started. 25th of March when lockdown had started. This is, I want to show you a speed of testing. This is the most comprehensive and scientific measure of how good is your performance in terms of testing. Is called the speed of testing. What is that? It says that for one positive COVID case, how many tests you have conducted. As simple as that. So number of COVID-19 tests per confirmed case. What does that mean? So if you go in a red zone and conduct 10 tests, you are likely to get 9 positive cases. But if you go in a green zone and you conduct a 10 test, you likely to get 1 positive case. But when you do in a large scale, I mean humongously, then for per positive case, your number of tests should be much higher. Now look at on the day 25th, when after all clapping and beating the drums and etc. and firework, we started our lockdown in a ceremonious manner, unlike the other countries where they started their lockdown in a very morose manner. But we had started their lockdown in a very ceremonious manner, firecracker and beating and then lots of things. Vietnam, which has done a kind of a revolutionary work during this time. If anyone is looking, I mean, if you Google for a Vietnam, how till end of May, there was no death. There was no death in Vietnam. Look what they had done. In Vietnam, 25th of March, for 1 positive case, they had conducted 223 tests. Australia had conducted 130 tests. Where is India? India was conducting 44.7 cases. So conducting 44 tests, they ended up getting 1. Now 1 month later, what is the situation? Look at this one. 25th of April, exactly 1 month after first lockdown, Vietnam has increased its test capacity. Sorry. Hello.
Okay, carry on. Someone is unmuted.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, how many minutes I am left with? Manush, could you please give me that? I have 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, I will try to summarize in a 5-6 minutes. So this is a staggering slides. On 25th of April, Vietnam has increased its test capacity in terms of the number of tests per positive case from 223 to 785. 785. Where is India? India were doing 44 tests. Now they are doing 23 number of tests per positive case. Just see in a 1 month time how we could raise our testing capacity, right? Because everyone is bothering about monitoring lockdown. Again, on 25th of May, what is our situation? After 2 months of lockdown, look, Vietnam is not in the top list. Now it's become New Zealand. India is still hovering around 21.8 number of tests for 1 positive case. What about on 3rd June? India is doing 20 tests for per 1 positive case. This means that India is exercising a horrible test capacity. Though in absolute numbers, it is increasing over time because we have a 1.3 billion population, but how the speed? That is really a point of concern. So finally, people are saying that, okay, so how India could do a test being a poor country? So this is a plot. In the horizontal axis, we are plotting the GDP per capita, which captures the proxy of economic prosperity. And in the vertical axis, we are plotting total test per 1,000. Now you can see that India is this big red, but Rwanda, which is one of the underdeveloped countries in sub-Saharan Africa, they had much lower GDP per capita. In terms of economic prosperity, Rwanda was a very poor country compared to India. But even Rwanda has done better testing than India in terms of total test per 1,000. Simply look at the El Salvador. This is one of the Central American country which has even lower than GDP of India. They had done hugely more number of total tests per 1,000. So point to conclude here is that India's lockdown was a peculiar type of lockdown which looked only, if I say more in a radical terms, it was only meant to create a kind of a economic pressure, only to create a trouble among the population, but it had no objective to contain the disease. If it had, then it would go for a humongous number of testing, which the other country exercised along with the lockdown. Now, the last point which I want to present, that the COVID-19 case fatality rate is on an average, which is presenting in Indian context, is not age adjusted. That means it's a simple average across different group of age group. But normally, in terms of the positive cases, who are affecting more? ICMR data suggests that the number of people who are getting affected through COVID in India, they are mostly 20 to 50 years old population. So they are the working age population, and they are more likely to exposed in the open air, open space, and they got affected more. Now you can see the WHO data suggests that this figure, that the death rate among this group of people who are 20 to 50 is considerably less than 3.35. So if you take a simple average, then you are giving equal weights to each age group. But in India, as the number of positive cases are proportionately higher for the working age population, so when you construct the average, you should have given a more weight to the working age population, and that could reduce the CFR so considerably low as compared to 3.35. Other points, so we calculated Can you see? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I will take another just couple of minutes. So other points, so the point what I'm saying, that the ICMR data which is reporting the CFR, this is an overstatement. That would be much, much lower than the actual, if we adjust the case fatality rate, adjust the age adjusted case fatality rate, which is practicing in the rest of the world. Except only one country in the world who are reporting the case fatality rate which is not age adjusted. This is, I mean, simply ridiculous. Why ICMR is not accounting for the age adjusted rate. Other points is that which actually construct my ground for the strategic lockdown, which I will say and finish, that the case fatality rate for the annual seasonal flu or influenza is 0.15. Just look at the case fatality rate for the people between 20 to 50 is something average around 0.25, which is not humongously different from annual seasonal flu. So therefore, the New York University professor Debraj Ray, they have written a paper, and they say that if you can strategically lock down the older population and vulnerable population and allow rest of the population of age 20 to 50 to work freely, even they catch COVID, there is a almost equal likelihood that they will die as they would have died in annual seasonal flu or influenza. So for them, it would have been a bad flu year. But there is a huge politics going around, and that's why there is a kind of a unprecedented fear among the public. So finally, this is the statement which I would like to make, that the visible versus invisible death in Indian estimate. Just to give you a sense that how COVID is located. Number of accident-related death in India was about 150,000. Death due to snake bites, 50,000. Death due to rabies virus due to dog bites is 20,000 odds. Death due to malaria is 10,000. This is annual figure. Sources as mentioned there, right? So if you sum up this kind of all these four number of death, it would be more than 275,000 death every year, and we have so far death around 4,500 through COVID. Now one could simply argue that the category of death that I mentioned, road accident, snake bite, malaria, or a dog bite, these all death could have been avoided if you had a comprehensive lockdown like what we are having now. Then why government didn't follow the comprehensive lockdown to tackle this death so that we could have saved 275,000 people, but we are promoting a comprehensive lockdown which has cost 4.5. So these data could have been avoided through comprehensive lockdown. So this is basically the Ray Subramaniam are saying that this is a visible versus invisible death. COVID death is a visible death. It's much noise, media, politics, all around that, right? So, but there has been invisible death which diffuses through category and time over the time. So finally, stringency of lockdown, politics of avoiding visible death. So lockdown can never be a long-term strategy. Rather, it is only a suppressed strategy to buy some extremely costly time to build and revamp the public health infrastructure. India did not see major improvement in health facilities or hospitals during this lockdown period like the other Western countries. In fact, only 15,000 crore out of that fictitious, I would say the fictitious, I have another paper on 20 lakh crore financial package of Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So which is less than 0.75% of that package has been allocated for the health purposes. So just imagine our central government focus on the mass, on the people who could be suffered from this disease. They use only 0.75% of money of the special package, but rest of the money they spent on giving incentive, giving liquidity support to the big merchant corporate. So instead of ensuring revamping the health facilities, much effort was dedicated to maintaining the total lockdown. Finally, we are proposing that lockdown can never continue like this. One can think of a strategic lockdown by shielding the elderly and vulnerable and allowing others to work so that we can ensure that the economy keeps moving. So now anyone can say that you are living man in an India. How can you protect the older people within a same household? Yes, I know that. So basically that's why you are asking everyone to stay at home. Instead of my proposal, our proposal is you should allow 20 to 50 to work freely. Even they catch, they will not die. But there is a higher likelihood that the vulnerable people like me, I am shielding. And if you have an existing health issues, immunity suppression matter or elderly population, they should be should not expose. But how you can do that? So there is a model coming out which says that government could have invested big chunk of money in building the makeshift infrastructures like temporary care home, community center, incentivizing household decision making towards an effective shielding policy, meaning insulate elderly and vulnerable population. Sorry, there is a typo in the population. So in the rural areas, you can build up a kind of a temporary care home or community center where for a period of time you can keep the elderly and vulnerable, and government will run that center. And if you as a household follow this strategy, government will give you an incentive to obey that rule. Now we would call this shielding strategy as a strategic lockdown as against total lockdown. In a cost benefit analysis, the cost of building this infrastructure and monitoring might be manifold lesser than the cost of total lockdown, which is unsurprisingly appearing to be a synonymous to total unlockdown. So what India has done in the name of lockdown is basically an unlockdown. So if you want to read this presentation more in detail, I have written to big Bengali write-up, which is available in my Bengali blog called Binirman. You can click here, and those who are interested, they can read further and come back to me and if they have any question. Thank you.